Hello my lovelies, and welcome to today's video in which I'm doing a big haul with some old library books that are no longer in circulation. Books that I have purchased in, I think, Asda and the works. Yeah, some miscellaneous books. So let's get started. The first stack is in my hand here. They're kind of heavy, so I'm just going to pop them down. One of them being what I have already read, and I think I read it in October, so I should have a review coming up for my wrap up for October, so keep an eye out for that. That is Goldilocks Wanted Dead or Alive by Chris Colfer, and this is kind of like a little spin-off graphic novel from the Land of Stories series. It's a fun kind of reimagining of the fairy tales in general, but specifically of course of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And in this story, Goldilocks has become a vigilante seeking justice in a very corrupt kingdom. Next up is Carlos Ruiz-Zafron's The Labyrinth of the Spirits. I haven't read any books by this author. They are very chunky tomes, but this one seemed intriguing to me. Again, it was one of the books that wasn't going out. It's a slightly older publication and nobody was interested in it. It's a little bit dated, yellowed pages, that sort of thing. So I said I would give it a new home. We are following our main character, Daniel Simpera, in this rich, multi-layered narrative where dark secrets in post-war Barcelona are unearthed, all whilst exploring the connections between life, death and literature, as I think a last portion of this takes part in an old bookshop, which sounds really cool. Following that, there's History of the Rain by Niall Williams, in which we have a tale of love and loss and the search of identity, following Ruth Swain specifically looking for her long-lost father and kind of discovering more about him and like memories surrounding him through her mother. Edmund White's Our Young Men is a powerful coming-of-age story exploring friendship and identity and connection and community within a group of young men navigating their lives in post-war Ireland. Got a couple of post-war and coming-of-age stories here, which is intriguing. It seems to talk about the topics of gay identity, with the back going into a little bit more depth, saying Edmund White has in Our Young Men created some of the richest representations of gay male identity. What links them all is the allure they find in beauty, and Our Young Man slips beneath its seductive surface to examine its dangerous depths, exploring its power to fascinate, enslave and deceive. This is a blackly comic and exquisite novel from a contemporary master. It seems like it might have tones of Radical Love, which I recently read by Neil Blackmore, and if so, if it's on that same sort of vibe or like thematically, then I feel like I could really adore this one. I spotted another book in this little series. I haven't recently read the Creeping Beauty book. This one is From the Fairy Tales Gone Bad, Zombierella by Joseph Coelho. This is a reimagining of Cinderella, of course, and we are following our Cinderella character as she is navigating this zombie apocalypse infested world while still looking for love and trying to survive. Brat, the naming of Brooke Storyteller, Book 1 by Gillian Potts, described as being a whimsical adventure where a young girl discovers her storytelling power whilst navigating the trials of friendship and self-identity. Our story begins on our main character, Brat, her 12th birthday, where everything seems to be happening all at once. Her father disappears, she's coming into that next era of her life, and when she goes looking for her father, she's laughed at and her belongings are stolen. So this seems like it could be kind of heartwarming, emotional, and hopefully filled with really good morals and kind of like fable-esque in tone, but we shall see. The Witch and the Tsar by Lisa Salnikova-Gilmore is described as being a mesmerizing blend of history and fantasy, which is reimagining the life of a witch in 17th century Russia, entwined with the fate of the Tsar. The character is Yaga, living in the deep, earthy Russian forest, tending to any that call upon her for wisdom and healing. So I haven't read the first book to this one, but I do know that I have it somewhere on my shelves. This is the sequel to Trainspotting, which is funny because I was talking about that to a colleague the other day actually. But this is Dead Man's Trousers by Irving Welsh. It follows the characters that you meet in Trainspotting. Again, I've yet to meet them because I've yet to read the book. Grappling with the consequences of their past choices in what is described to be a gritty and humorous narrative. This next one I am particularly excited about. This is from Emily Carroll and it's When I Arrived at the Castle. I think I might give it a read after filming this video. It's been sitting there staring at me since I took it out from the library a couple of days ago. But this is a surreal and haunting exploration of identity and desire. It is very sapphic in nature, and we are following a woman who is confronting her dark past in a mysterious, kind of eerie, haunted castle. Okay, making a segue now into purchased books. These are from The Works and Asda. The first one being from The Works is actually a book journal that they have recently come out with, and it's just a very simple form. It's got a lovely red cover, a couple of quotes in here, but the layout is really like easy to use, very user friendly, lots of space for reviews and thoughts, and an extra page as well, so if you like to fully write out your reviews, hopefully this will be enough. It's also got things like, would I read it again, would I recommend it to a friend, and if so, who. One last parting thought. It's got like favourite quotes from it that you can write down, and then at the start as well there is a book tracker. I do love these little bookshelves to colour in. I just feel like they're quite helpful in like the visual approach, and also there's like a TBR section as well. So yeah, for £5 it's a nice basic, even a good introductory piece to starting to journal your thoughts on reading. So yeah, it's good for all around, I would say. Okay, so a lot of new releases that I have seen in Asda in particularly. There is the Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This is her latest book, I do believe. I remember seeing all of her like updates in terms of the, at the time, unnamed manuscript that she was working on. So it's very exciting to have this in my hands, and I really love the red sprayed edges. I must admit I haven't read any of her other books, like her other adult books. I can't recall if this is set in the same world as the one with the like evil superhero kind of vibes. I haven't read that one either, but the only books I've read so far from her are the ghost ones, the middle grade ghost books, which I have really enjoyed. I've just not gone into a chunkier books, and I really want to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue as well, which I probably would read in theory before any of these ones. But anyway, this is a gripping tale of political intrigue and personal betrayal. Of course, it is set in a fantastical world, and one in which where power is often hanging by a thread, which sounds so cool. So I'm really intrigued to see if that is some sort of magical aspect, like thread magic, and how that would work. We're following a couple of different characters, Kel, Leah and London, and it seems like we are set in this like red, grey and white London, which I feel like Ben Aronovich has also done. I don't know, I feel like that sort of London aspect thing is becoming quite popular. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds really intriguing. I just need to be in the right headspace to digest this. Yes. A couple of really cute, I'm hoping cheesy, kind of slightly magical stories. The next one is Haunt Your Heart Out. This is by Amber Roberts. It is described to be a spooky yet heartfelt journey where a ghost helps a young woman uncover her true self, and it speaks of a love that transcends both life and death. It just sounded super cute and cozy, and I keep collecting these kind of magical-esque romances because I think it's probably the best segue for me to really get into romance, as well as like the darker stuff, which I think like vampires and stuff is just my jam anyway. So yeah, I'm really hoping to read this. It's got tinier font than I was expecting, like that's really diddy. So I feel like it might take me a little while more to read than I expected, but nevertheless it sounds super cute, and every time I pick one of these up and I start talking about them, I just want to read them straight away. But I've got so many books that I'm already dedicated to at the moment, so you'll be going on my shelves. Hopefully I can read you soon. Filming this, Halloween is literally tomorrow, so I feel like all the times for the spooky books are just going, but again, in my heart it's always spooky season, so pick them up whenever. But honestly, segueing into the next kind of big holiday, I've got a Christmas-esque book. This is The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I just liked that nod to The Night Before Christmas because I have got, like, even in reach and distance, little Jack Skeleton. I've got so many dotted about, like in various forms, plushies, figurines. Got another one of him hanging over there. Like, it's just a vibe. Anyway, this is by Sarah Rush, and it is a playful holiday themed like romance spin on the beloved classic, where Halloween and Christmas collide in a chaotic and charming adventure. We are following Cole as our main character, who is or might be the Prince of Christmas, but he'd honestly rather skip it this year. Wouldn't you, if your father, the reigning Santa, has turned it into nothing more than the family's latest PR stunt? But Cole has gotten into one scrape too many, and there's a surprise in store, a marriage to his best friend to unite their families in the perfect holiday photo moment. Then a rival arrives to challenge Cole for the princess's hand, and he's suddenly face to face with a past mistake, Hex, the deliciously handsome Prince of Halloween. I love this already. Scuppering Santa's plans and falling for Christmas's biggest rival would be a complete disaster, wouldn't it? This just sounds like it's going to be adorable and cringy, and I just love that duality of Christmas and Halloween and, you know, the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just sounds like it's going to be a fun time. Funnily enough, on the topic of The Nightmare Before Christmas, I have got the latest Twisted Tale novel, which just so happens to be Sally's Lamnant, and this is written by Mary Mancusi. I have been so excited for this to come out. Admittedly, I fell off the bandwagon of the Twisted Tales stories. I have read, like, I want to say 2, maybe 3 pushing it, but I need to go back and like continue reading them because they were good when I was reading them. Like, I was enjoying them. I feel like I might have read an Aladdin one, and I forget, it was so long ago I can't remember the other one that I read, but this one definitely called to me. We are following a hauntingly beautiful narrative that weaves together themes of grief, love, the struggle for closure in a world full of echoes from the past. The premises of this one is, what if Sally had found Christmas Town instead of Jack? And I love that idea, so I'm intrigued to see what spirals from that simple thought. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Okay, and then in the works I got 2 books. I say books because the other book that I got in the works was the reading journal. So these 2 honestly were kind of like cover buys. I feel like I might have seen the covers somewhere, but I don't really know anything about them. So we have The Wrath of the Damned by Ella Fields. I didn't know if this was a first. Nope, it's a second book in a series, and I don't know if I have the first one. Nectar of the Wicked. I do not own that, so I'll have to have a look out for that book. It was simply a cover buy. But for my little research, my brief spoiler-free blurb is that it is a thrilling fantasy tale of vengeance and redemption as a group of unlikely heroes come together to confront dark forces that are threatening the world. Obviously, I will get more of an in-depth feel for it going back and reading the first book. I'm not going to read this first, obviously, but I mean, like, the blurb on the back will give me a bit more detail. I daren't look on the back of this one for fear that it will spoil some sort of premise of the first one. But anyway, moving swiftly on, I also have Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. Again, it had a dragon on the cover. I love it. It was a cover buy. This is described as an epic fantasy filled with adventure and self-discovery, where a young hero must reclaim their destiny in a land where dragons roam. And a little bit extra, it says their bond will save the world or shatter it. Long ago, humans betrayed dragons, stealing their magic and banishing them to a dying world. Now their descendants worship dragons as god. Oh wow. But the gods remember and they do not forgive. That sounds like it's going to be awesome. I love dragons, honestly. That's one of my favourite like mythical creatures. I've actually shown this book before because I originally had it out from the library, but I have since returned it because I read another book by this author, which I mentioned earlier, Radical Love by Neil Blackmore, and I adored it, wished I had a physical copy to keep. So when I saw this on Vinted, I was like, oh, it's a couple of quid, I'm going to purchase it, because if I love it as much as Radical Love, I'm going to be kicking myself that I still don't have a physical copy of a book from this author. Anyway, this book is The Dangerous Kingdom of Love, and it's another kind of historical fiction talking about gay romance and the thoughts and feelings surrounding that around the time. Very taboo. It's described to be a captivating romance set against a backdrop of political upheaval. where love defies danger and challenges the very fabric of loyalty. Again, steeped in historical time periods, historical characters. We are following Francis Bacon, who is philosopher, politician, writer, and an outsider at the court of King James I. He's clever but not aristocratic, has ambition but no money. So when his political enemies form a deadly alliance between him, centered around the king's poisonous lover, Robert Carr, Bacon has no choice but to fight for his survival. Together with the neglected queen, Bacon resolves to find a peculiar young man to plant Carr in the king's bed. But as Bacon soon discovers, desire is not something that can be controlled. Bold, irreverent, and utterly original, The Dangerous Kingdom of Love is a darkly witty satire about power and a moving queer love story that resonates through time. I think I am going to adore this. I hope I do. Okay, and the next is a load of books that were like old donations, and unfortunately the library doesn't accept donations. They haven't for a long time. So when I was clearing out the storage, I came across boxes and boxes of books that we can't do anything with. So I asked if I was able to take some of the ones that interested me, and I decided to do that once given permission, of course, because I probably would have just gone and found them in the charity shop anyway. These are all very like short stories, and the majority of them are kind of like historical in nature. I'm not going to go into depth of all of them, but I will just show you. They're very basic. I don't know if they're written for a particular age group or what, but I thought it sounds interesting enough. A lot of these are about real people or real time, like periods, like historical times, so it would be helpful to kind of refresh my history knowledge anyway. Grab a load of them and just ritz through. So I have, these are all like My Story, My Royal Story. That's kind of like the wider series, but they're all written by different people. So there is The Slave Girl, An African American Girl's Diary, 1859. This is by Patricia C. McKissack. English Princess's Diary, 1829. This is Victoria by Anna Kieran. Princess Hatshepsut's Diary, 1490 BC. Egyptian Princess, Vince Cross. British Boy, AD 84. Some of the titles are just, they're very basic. They just get to the point. Roman Invasion. I'm just going to show these up because, and read like the brief titles. To Kill a Queen, Pompeii, Cleopatra. This might be helpful because I have a massive like non-fiction Cleopatra book. It's over here somewhere and it's so daunting, but I still am really interested in reading it. This might be a good way to kind of ease myself into that. Mary Queen of Scots, Elizabeth, 1900, A Brand New Century, Anne Boleyn and Me. I don't know Roman numerals. Henry VIII's wives, I don't know. Mary Antoinette, Highway Girl, Viking Blood, Catherine of Aragon. Why did I just have Lord of the Rings in my head? I never put those two together before. Bloody Tower, Titanic, Australia, Suffragette, Pyramid of Secrets, and Anastasia. So these are all like little historical books. It says on the back of all of them, I think, experience history firsthand with My Story, a series of vividly imagined accounts of life in the past. I want to say they're aimed at a younger age group just because of the way in which some of them are like worded and like the basic of it, but honestly anyone can read it. I think it's a good introductory piece to anything historical, so hopefully they read decently. I feel like they could be kind of like a breeze to get through. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Another long one, I know. So have a lovely evening and I shall see you again soon. Bye.